Hello students and welcome to the next lecture. In today's lecture we will see design of pre-coolers. So pre-coolers are used to design, pre-coolers are designed to used in field. So before cooling the product we pre-cool it, okay, we remove the field heat, okay, that is the purpose of pre-cooler, to removing the heat or field heat so that we can extract the unnecessary heat which is generated because of harvesting, okay, because whenever we harvest a product it generates heat, okay, so that heat we have to remove before storing the product. So that is known as pre-cooling, or before doing any process we have to pre-cool the product. So this is generally the field operation, pre-cooling. So there are two types of pre-coolers. One is hydro pre-coolers and another one is forced air pre-coolers. So as the name suggests, hydro pre-cooler means here we are dealing with water, okay. So we are spraying water over the product. Our product can be anything like it can be fruits, vegetables, okay. So that is hydro pre-cooling, and or it can be forced pre-cooling. We have to provide the cold air. So generally in vegetable market you might have find vegetable vendors are spraying water over their produce, okay. That is also a type of pre-cooling only, okay, because they bought the product from the field and they are putting it for selling. So that is the purpose why they are spraying the water over it, so that they can reduce the field heat, okay, or harvesting heat from the product. And what are the benefits why we need to do pre-cooling, okay. So we will see next slide what are the benefits of or importance of pre-cooling. So first parameters is rate of respiration. So the rate of respiration is what our produce having, okay. So if we are dealing with, suppose we are dealing with apples or any fruit, so what happens when we separate a fruit or a product from a plant? So what happens, they start respiring by themselves. Previously the plant was doing it for them, now they have to respire and they start respiring by themselves, okay. So with this respiration they take out carbon dioxide and they take in oxygen, okay. They are respiring as we are doing, okay. Only the photosynthesis is done by the plant, okay, not by the fruit. Fruits need oxygen to survive, okay, because it is having various enzymes, it is having various microorganisms, it is having various vitamins, minerals, okay. So that's why they need various type of like they need oxygen for the survival. So here in our case they are using oxygen and they are taking out carbon dioxide, okay, or other gases also. Sometimes they generate ethylene, okay. So because of that the ripening of fruit occurs, so other gases are also there. So this is respiration. So when they do respiration, what happens, they generate heat, okay. So this heat is what which damages the quality of the product, okay. We have in pre-cooling we have to remove this heat only, okay. And whenever we are releasing the heat, suppose if the temperature inside a room is too hot, then our respiration rate increases automatically. So whenever we are storing the product, like we are storing the 100 of apples in a room, so what happens, it will increase the respiration rate of the fruit after a certain time. So for that we need to reduce this respiration rate, and this respiration rate we can reduce by reducing the heat. This heat however we can reduce by reducing the temperature of the ambient, okay, by reducing the temperature of the ambient conditions, okay. So for this purpose we need to reduce the temperature of the ambience, we need pre-coolers. So first one is to reduce the rate of respiration. How? By reducing the ambient temperature. When the temperature is comfortable, the fruits will be respiring slowly, and if we further decrease the temperature, then fruit will respire very slowly, okay, and hence the shelf life of the product will be increased. So after respiration, there is another purpose of pre-cooling, that is retaining the nutritional values, okay, retaining the nutritional composition of the product, because we know that when the temperature of a product or surrounding is increased, then what happens, the nutrition loss will occur, okay, vitamin loss, mineral loss, protein loss, these things will occur, okay. So to preserve these things, we have to reduce the temperature, and if we are reducing the temperature, what happens, we can preserve these things, okay. So this will also help us to preserve the to preserve the nutrition composition of the product. First one, this will help us to reduce the rate of respiration. The next point is pre-cooling always provide an extra time, okay, an extra marketing flexibility, like it will give you extra time to store the product, okay, to keep the product with you, because once we have pre-cooled our produce, then we can store it for another 2 days extra, okay. So that's why it will give us the marketing flexibility, like if a seller is not giving a good price for today, then we can wait for another 2 days, so that we can get a better seller who are giving the higher price than the previous one. So that is why it will give the flexibility to the farmer as well as the seller or buyer, okay, to it will give the marketing flexibility, so that which allows for the greater benefits or economical benefits of the from the product. So it will provide a marketing flexibility by allowing the grower to sell produce at a most appropriate times. When the product is ready, like when there is demand in the market, the seller can sell the product if they are pre-cooled it and stored it properly. Okay, so we have seen the importance of pre-cooling, why we need pre-cooling. After importance of pre-cooling, we have to see what are the design considerations. So what is pre-cooler actually, and why we should design the pre-cooler. So the primary function of pre-cooler is to be energy efficient, and it also provides the sufficient cooling capacity. So pre-cooling is like we can say water cooler, okay. There are two types of pre-cooler we have already known, one is hydro, another one is force type. So our water cooler can be a pre-cooler, okay, if we are putting a water cooler inside a room, or 2-3 water cooler inside a room, and if we are providing a proper ventilation, so that room itself is known as a pre-cooling room, okay. So the purpose there will be like by forcing the wind inside the system, we are pre-cooling it, okay. So another type is sprinkling the water. The example I have given in the vendors are sprinkling the water over the fruits or vegetables, okay. So we sprinkle the cold water over the surfaces of fruits and vegetables, so that the temperature of the body of the produce can be reduced, okay. So here the primary function is that system, whatever we are opting, should be energy efficient, okay, before designing that. And another one is it should provide the sufficient amount of cooling, okay. If the system is not efficient and it is not providing the sufficient amount of cooling, then it is useless to us, okay, and then we have to redesign it. Another one is well designed pre-cooling system is not only avoid the wastages, okay, wastages of electrical energy, because generally we use electrical energy for pre-cooling it, but it also restrict the moisture losses within the permissible limit. So if we are pre-cooling the product, or our pre-cooler is designed properly, then we can reduce the moisture loss from the produce also, okay. So this was the benefit. These are the two parameters we have to see before designing with these two parameters we should consider before designing the pre-cooler. First one is it should be energy efficient, and the capacity should be optimum, and it should also permit some, like it should restrict some moisture loss from the product, so that the quality of the product will be maintained. So next we will see the mechanism of pre-cooling. What is pre-cooling, okay. So I have given you one example of pre-cooling. Sorry. Suppose we are having a room. So what we are doing, we are keeping our produce inside this room. Okay, on the shelf we are keeping. On 3 shelves we kept our produce. Okay, let us consider these are the crates of fruits. These are the crates of fruits which we are going to preserve for a longer duration. And let us assume this is a sprinkler, like water hydro type pre-cooling system. So we should provide some sprinklers. Let me change the color for sprinklers. In hydro cooling, what will happen? We will provide the sprinklers over the product, and these sprinklers are used to bring down the temperature of the product. These sprinklers are generally spraying the cold water okay, and then there will be a drainage system. Okay. These sprinklers are spraying water over the product. They are spraying the cold water over on the product, and then it is reducing the temperature. Okay, and now this water, whatever the cold water it is there, after reducing the temperature of the system, this cold water is again fed to the pump. Cold water is again fed to the pump, and this pump is attached to the cooling system, and this cooling system is again attached with the pump or a motor, and then again this water is sprinkling to the system. So this is complete hydraulic type pre-cooling system. So this will be cooling or chilling room. So what happens? First, the heat inside the system. First, the heat inside the system will be there. That heat we are going to remove. How? By spraying the water. So this water should be at the temperature lower than, this is not visible, sorry. So the water should be, temperature of water should be lower than the temperature of produce. It should be always there, so that the heat transfer at any time heat transfer should be there. So this is one condition for working of pre-cooler. Okay, then what will happen? This water will absorb the heat from the product. Water absorb the heat from product. So heat gain will be there towards water. So temperature of water will again rise, and that water will drain out through the system. Okay. So, and the temperature inside the product will reduce. Then again this hot water will fed with the help of a pump, it will fed to the cooling mechanism. So here heat exchange will be there between the ice and the water. Okay. So this will be a chilling chamber or cooling chamber in which we have kept the ice, and again we fed with the hot water. Okay. So which will get chilled, and we will get chilled water again. Okay, we will get chilled water again, and which will sprinkle it. Okay, so here we are talking about this area. So here heat transfer occur between the water and our what we call that refrigerant, sorry. So heat transfer occurs between water and our refrigerant. So here our refrigerant will be ice. Okay. So it can be liquid ammonia, it can be any other refrigerant also. Here we are taking ice as a refrigerant. First, what will happen? We will reduce the temperature, okay, of the room, and then the heat of the product will be transferred to the, then we sprinkle the water over the product. Heat will be heat from the system, or heat from the product will be transferred to the water, and then this water get heated, and this water will be again fed to the system, where again heat transfer will change, means heat transfer will occur between the refrigerant and the hot water, and again the water will get chilled, and this is how it will happen. If this is about the with water or hydro type pre-cooling system. If this system is air type, air pre-cooling type, then instead of water we will deal with the air. Okay. So we will force instead of sprinkler we will have the fans, instead of water we will have air, instead of pump we will have blowers, okay, or suction pumps. So these things change automatically. So these things we will see in detail one by one. So this is the mechanism how generally a heat exchanger or a pre-cooler work. So if we say the same things in words, sorry, okay. So what will happen? The temperature of the air inside the cooling facility, or the temperature of the ambient air inside the cooling facility will get reduced by sprinkling the cold water, okay, by load fresh produce, and the heat is moved out from the fruit by surrounding air. This here we are talking about the forced air type system. Okay, so we are talking about air. The air is fed inside the system so that the product cooled air is fed inside the system so that the product temperature can be reduced. Okay, and then rapid heat transfer takes place, and there will be temperature gradient develops within the product with the faster cooling. Okay, so what will happen when we are cooling the product? What will happen? Generally, suppose this is our product. Okay, so what will happen? Suppose we are forcing air from the top. Sorry. Suppose we are forcing air from the top. So what will happen? A temperature gradient will occur. Suppose there is temperature of air will be Ta and temperature of the product is Tp. So this layer will be on Tp, whereas if we are dividing this product in 2-3 layers, so this layer will be at Tp, but this layer will be at Tp minus fraction of Ta. Okay, this layer will be Tp minus fraction of Ta plus again fraction of T. Okay, so temperature will get reduced one by one, like this layer will be of Tp minus fraction of Ta plus fraction of Ta plus fraction of Ta. Okay, and the top layer will be a temperature of air temperature itself. Okay, so this shows what? As we go higher lengthwise, there will be a temperature gradient in the product. Okay, so temperature is reducing or temperature is changing as we are going up or down, or depending upon the direction of our air. So the temperature is changing. So that is what here. Okay, so that is what written, that with the time in rapid heating, what will happen? That there it will generate a temperature gradient. Okay, so this temperature gradient develops with the faster cooling. So higher the temperature, higher the cooling rate. Okay, higher the temperature gradient, like the temperature of the topmost layer will be least than the downmost layer. Okay, or the center of the product. So that is how it occurs. Okay, so and as a function of the product property, surface heat. So what actually this temperature gradient is a function of what? It is a function of product properties. Okay, what is the structure of the product, how complex it is. Okay, again surface heat transfer, how much transfer of heat is occurring, what is the surface area of the product. Okay, this is and the cooling rate of the air. So these are the parameters which influences the temperature gradient inside the product. So next point, the evaporator contains refrigerant boiling at a low pressure and temperature. Okay, now the temperature heat transfer between the product and our water or air is done. Now we are talking about the heat transfer between the air and the refrigerant. Okay, there are two units. First is, this is first unit in which we are putting our produce and we are supplying air. Correct? Now what happened? There is second unit for which air is supplied, this hot air is supplied. We are supplying cool air here. Okay. Now this hot air is supplied to the system which will cool the air. How we will cool this air? We will provide one refrigerant. Okay. So we are having three things: product, refrigerant, hot air or cool air. Okay, four things are there. Anyway, air is air, the temperature of air is changing. So actually the temperature of everything is changing with time in this system. So we are having three things: product, refrigerant and air. Air is circulating, product and refrigerant are constant in two chambers. Okay, in this chamber refrigerant will be there, in this chamber product will be there. Only the air is circulating and air is carrying the temperature from one chamber to the next chamber. Clear? So this is how it is working. Now we are done with first 2 points are about this. Now next point is about this chamber, okay, where air and refrigerant are working. Okay, so evaporators contains refrigerant boiling at a low pressure and the temperature. Okay, we are talking about evaporator only. This unit we call, number one we call it as the evaporator. Okay, what is the purpose of evaporator? It cools the system. This unit we call condenser. Okay, what is the purpose of condenser? It will again cool the air, okay, with the help of refrigerant. So evaporators cool the produce with the help of air. Condenser cools the air with the help of refrigerant. This is the purpose of this thing. So we are talking about evaporators, this system. What happens to air in evaporator? It will get this air was at a low temperature and low pressure, and this air or refrigerant, whatever we are calling, okay, refrigerant boils or evaporates, okay, in the evaporator. That's why its name is evaporator. And this evaporation needed some energy. From where the air is getting that energy? That energy is gained by the produced heat, okay, or the product heat. If we are keeping apple, that heat they will consume from product, okay, and they will evaporate. So this is happening inside the evaporator. So as the refrigerant flows inside the evaporator, it makes it always colder, okay. So because it is every time the air is passing inside the system, okay, or in the cooling chamber or evaporator, it is gaining heat from the product, okay. So as long as we are supplying the heat from in the evaporator, it is sucking the heat and it is making the chamber cooler and cooler, okay. So this, after this, sorry, as the time goes on, what happens? Heat contained on the air absorbs and the temperature of the produce is getting lowered. Once the temperature of the produce is getting lowered, the refrigerant is sucked from the evaporator and superheated at a low pressure gas and is compressed to the higher pressure passing through the compressor. Now we are talking about the compressor or condenser, okay. So now first our refrigerant was at a low pressure, okay. Now first we have to increase the pressure. So first our refrigerator was at low pressure and low temperature, okay. Now we have to increase the pressure, but when heat transfer occurs between the produce or the product, between the product and refrigerant, in our case air, what happens? The temperature of air is raised, but pressure is still low. Now with the help of this thing occurs in evaporator. Okay. Now again our air is travelled to compressor so that we can increase the pressure. So then comes the compressor, which increase the pressure, okay. If we are while compressing, what we are doing? We are increasing the pressure. Once we have increased the pressure, next we will, what we will do? Now we have to reduce the pressure and temperature to the desired level, okay, so that we can again pass our air to the system. Okay. So what we will do here, we will with the help of condenser, we will reduce the temperature, but pressure is still high. Okay. So we need an valve which we call as a pressure releasing valve, which will again reduce the temperature and the pressure of the system, and this is fed to the evaporator. Okay, these are the components which actually work inside a refrigeration system. This we will see later also, but this is how it will work. Today our main aim will be this and this area, evaporator and the condenser. So compressor work is nothing but increasing the pressure, and this extension valve work is nothing but reducing the pressure. Once we are getting the lesser pressure, this is talking about the pressure only, how to reduce the pressure, and now the heat is pulled out from the air, and now this air can be again recirculated to the system. So this is the mechanism of how a pre-cooler works, or how a refrigerant cycle works. So next is the air pre-cooling methods. So the types of pre-cooling methods. Okay. How pre-cooling occurs. First one is room cooling method or hydro cooling. The second one is forced air cooling. Okay. So we will see both in details. First, we will see what wet air cooling or wet cooling method. So what in this method, this is our chamber. In this chamber we are keeping our product, and this is chamber for maintaining the air temperature or the pressure inside the system. Okay. So what will happen? Here we will sprinkle the water over the products. Okay. And then that heat is, whatever the temperature raised, that water will be in chilled temperature, and then once the heat of the product is gained by this water, this hot water will supply to the system, and here the heat exchange occur between the system. Like here we are using air, that's why wet air. Okay. So this water will again gains the heat from the release the heat to the air, surrounding air, and it will again reduce the temperature of water. It will get chilled, and then again this water is supplied to the cooling evaporator or our cooling chamber. So what are the components? Okay. So first one is the damper or the what we call as a, this is a damper. Damper protects from the dampness. Okay. Second one is centrifugation fan. This fan which sucks the air or which take out the air from the system, okay, which will be used to cool the water. Okay. So next one will be the moisture eliminator. So again, like whenever the air is going out, it carries some moisture with it. We don't want that, because again moisture loss, like when air was going out, it was cooling the moisture, cooling our system, and that cold water will also carried away with that. So for that we need moisture traps. So here we put moisture trap, okay, which retain the moisture inside the system only. Then after that we are having water sprinklers. Okay, these are the water sprinklers which cool the air inside this chamber. Okay, So water sprinklers, then comes the heat exchanger. So this is where our air was entering, and this is where our cold air is outlet. Okay. So this is what happening inside it. Then again we are having ice chiller. So again the temperature of this room can be decreased further. So hence we are using ice. We are spraying cold water also. Okay, this iced water is melting here. So here we are having water sink. Okay. Sorry. Okay, right. So this we are having water sink. This iced water is melting inside the sink, and again it pumped in the sprinklers, and sprinkler is again reducing the air temperature, and this air is we are using chilled air. We are using into our system. It will come here and it will cool the system. Okay. So our heat exchanger is done, then ice chiller is done, then comes the water deflectors. So here we are having water deflectors so that the water can be deflected back to the pump, okay, not to the system. Then water tank at the bottom, these are the water deflectors. Water deflectors which don't let water enter into the evaporator chamber or the cooling chamber. And then comes the water sink or water tank. After water tank, this is the pump we use to sprinkle the water over the heat exchanger. And then these are the product pellets and the wooden plates. So these are the wooden plates on which our product is stained, pellets, and our product is again kept inside the pellets only. So this is our system for wet air cooling system. Okay, for wet pre-cooling, this will be our system. So here we are circulating the air. Okay, but for that circulation of air, we are using water to chill it. Okay, here we are using ice to chill the air. Okay, and that hot air, whatever the heat transfer is, after heat transfer is going, it is getting out from the damper. So this is wet cooling system. Then after this, the next is dry system. So in dry system, we don't use cooling, we don't use water, but we use refrigerant. Okay, so this generally works on the principle of refrigeration. Okay, or a fridge or a freezer. Okay, so in this system we are having, so this fan we are using to blow the air inside our cooling chamber, and this is the system behind the cooling chamber. We are talking about the second system with heat transfer between the air and our refrigerant. Okay, so for that we need, this is the system for refrigerant till this point. Okay, this is for refrigerant. So this is a refrigeration system. So first one is compressor, which is having high temperature and high pressure. Okay, now after compressor, the fuel will, it will come to the evaporator, where temperature will get reduced and pressure will also get reduced. Okay, then this condenser, what will do, whatever high temperature and low pressure air is coming, okay, intake will be the high temperature, and low pressure, whatever high temperature and low pressure air or gas is coming, this condenser will condense, okay, again reduce the temperature. This condenser will reduce the temperature of the system, but for pressure it will supply to the compressor. Okay, so compressor will having low temperature, but high pressure. Okay, so again we have to reduce this pressure. So that pressure will reduce before entering into the evaporators. Okay, that evaporate, we are having a valve. Okay, this is suction line passed to somewhere. We should have some valve here, which will help us to reduce the pressure. Okay, so then we will pass the low temperature, low pressure air to this evaporator, and this with the help of this fan, and this evaporator will help us to reduce the temperature of our produce. So this is dry air system. Now, how to design this system? So for that we have to do only heat calculations. Okay, this heat calculation we will do with the help of an example. So let us assume we are having a chamber in which we are going to keep our produce. So sorry. So let us assume we are having a chamber in which we are keeping our produce. Okay, and it is having suppose we are putting 100 kgs of our product inside a chamber. Suppose this is 100 kgs of apple. So what are the pictures, what are the heat which we have to consider before designing the chamber? Okay, so first we will take the product heat. Okay, how much heat we have to remove? First point, step 1 is the product heat calculation. We need some properties of product, like what should be the mass. For that we need some property of product, specific heat capacity, known as Cp, Ti, initial temperature of product, Tf, final temperature of product. Okay, a part of this we need what is respiration of product, respiration rate of product. Okay, then what is the heat generation because of respiration. So these things we have to know before designing the heat load calculation for product. Okay, so first formula which we use, like we can write a sensible heat which we need to cool. So let us of product. So we are dealing with so many heats, so let us make it Qp. So Qp will be mass of product into specific heat of product into delta T, where delta T is nothing but Ti minus Tf. first one. Now second one, we will see the heat of respiration. Okay, here what is the heat of respiration? So that will be, we will say heat of respiration of product. So that heat of respiration, let us assume, for that we need respiration rate and the heat generation due to respiration. Okay. So when we multiply both, we will get QRP, heat of respiration of product, that is equals to respiration rate multiplied by heat generation. So respiration rate will be like 500 kg, 600 kgs per hour, or the heat generation will be in how much heat, like kilojoules per kg, that will be the heat generation. So that we have to transfer into kilojoule per hour. So for that wise we have to get this. So this is our second. Once we will get the both, now sometimes what happens, sometimes we need to reduce the temperature. Suppose from field we are bringing the produce at the 30 degrees Celsius, but now we have to reduce the temperature to minus 2 degrees Celsius. Okay. So here we are dealing with not only with the sensible heat, but we are also dealing with latent heat. Okay. So whenever we are calculating the product, this is the case if we are reducing the temperature before to the, sorry, lesser to the 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. So here there will be another heat in picture, that is known as latent heat. Okay. For latent heat, again we are having apples only. For this apple we need latent heat, okay, of this apple. So total latent heat of product of produce, let it makes QLP, which is equals to m into lambda, where lambda is nothing but latent heat. Okay. So these are the three heats we need to calculate for our product. In our case, in this case sample, apples are there. Okay. So for 100 kgs of apple we need to find out these three things. So these are the heat we are talking about, transferring this we have to take out from the system, so that our apples will come to a temperature of 32 minus 2 degrees Celsius. Okay. Sometimes they will ask us to keep it up to 5 degrees Celsius. Okay. So at that time the freezing temperature of the product is not reached, that's why we don't have to calculate the latent heat of the product. Okay. If the freezing temperature of the product is reached, not of the water, of the product is below this, okay, we have to calculate latent heat. If it is not, then we don't. Okay. So we have to read the question carefully before solving it. So first we have to find out the sensible heat. If the temperature is reduced further to the freezing point of the product, then we have to find out latent heat, and then we have to find out the heat of respiration of the product. So after determining all the heats, okay, we will see total product heat, which is equals to QP, let us say sensible heat, okay, QSP. QP is equals to QSP, sensible heat, latent heat of product plus respiration of product. Okay, so this will be our designing heat. So this is how we do the heat load calculation inside the system. This much heat we are needed, okay, but again there will be some losses, okay. So any system is not 100% efficient, so we have to multiply with the efficiency also. Okay, so here we talked about our product. Heat load calculation of product we have done here. We are talking about only product. But what happens when we are dealing with a freezer? Okay, sorry. When we are dealing with the freezer, what happens? We open it, or a manual entrance will be there inside the room. Okay, we unload it, we load it. Okay, so that heat also we have to calculate. Okay, so now freezer or chamber heat. Calculation. This is point 2. Okay, how much heat loss from the chamber? So for that, what we have to find out? First, we have to find out the heat loss due to the walls of the chamber. For that, we need dimension of the chamber. Suppose we are keeping our produce inside a room, for which we have to find out the area. What will be the surface area of this room, so that we can find out the heat loss because of the walls of the room, okay, because of the radiation. So first is heat loss from walls. Okay, so we can say QW, which is equals to U into A into delta T, where A is the area of the wall, surface area of the wall, surface area. T will be the, delta T is the inside temperature will be Ti and outside temperature will be To. Okay. So delta T will equals to inside temperature minus, outside temperature minus inside temperature. Okay, delta T will be that. U will be the overall coefficient. If it is a composite wall, so we have to design it as a composite wall. U will be the overall coefficient of heat. So first one is the heat loss because of the walls. Okay, again this is a chamber, so there will be lights inside this room. Okay, so we calculate heat loss due to lights, okay, or other things. So for that we have to calculate number of lights, and will be number of QL, we can say QL and others. And will be number of lights, okay, and H will be heat generated by one light. and after that capital H will be the number of working hours, how much time the light worked. Okay, so this will be the heat generation, heat loss due to the light. So now our heat load calculation or freezer calculation is like heat loss due to the freezer will let us consider as a QC, chamber heat calculation, which is equals to QW, right, QW plus QLO. So this is the calculation for heat, how much heat we need. So next step is total heat needed to be removed from system. Correct, how much system should work. Okay, that is point 3. So how much is that? That is QT, let us assume QT, that is equals to QW plus previous, we have find out the product na, so QP. So this should be the total heat. If the efficiency is there, then we have to multiply with the efficiency. Okay, so generally the efficiency will be the 80% or 90, we have to divide it by the efficiency, not multiply, divided by the efficiency. If our system is 80%, 90% efficient, we have to divide it by the efficiency. Okay, or factor of safety we have to consider, then we have to multiply with that. That will be like 1.2, 1.5. Efficiency will be 80%, 70% like that. Okay. So we have done, we know how much heat we have to remove. So depending upon that, we have to go calculate how much should be the circulation rate of the air and water, how much water we should use. So for that also same calculations. Okay, so this is it for today's lecture. Thank you. Hopefully you understand the topic. We will meet soon with the next lecture.